listen close because I'm going to tell you why a society that is not led by men, which is to say a society where there is no female leadership, is a society that is destined for collapse and was destined to be subjugated by people who wish to enslave the population throughout all of human history. There have been innumerable examples of tyrants, dictators, and people motivated by evil who have enslaved literal nations. Why do they do that? Well, getting things done is hard and requires humans to comply. And if you don't have the sophistication, or you do not care for the sophistication of the lengths of manipulation required to get them to think that it's their own idea, our Western society, for example, then you just resort to brute force. Well, Dylan, how can you say that? Dylan, that's sexist. You know what's sexist? A societal configuration, which is to say a social program that was directly reduce the quality of life of women. I can't think of something more sexist than something that will literally enslave women to evil. Please, I will wait to be told something that is more sexist than that. One moment. It is not sexist to say things that are true, but unfortunately, we are living in a post-truth society because the media has been co-opted and, well, not even co-opted because there was no co-opting required. They just did it of their own voluntary will because they are in bed with all the other big institutions in this world. And they all have aligned interests. There is no co-opting required. And they convinced everybody that men can be women and women can be men. And if you dare question these beliefs, these assertions of what truth now is, you are, insert the ism here. You're an ism. You're a sexist. Oh, you're a homophobe. You're an X and Y, Z and Z, what the ever, right? What a perfect manipulation. What a perfect manipulation other than to give people falsehood and make the very act of questioning that falsehood, which is to say the very act of truth, something that is not only taboo, but borderline illegal, and in some cases illegal. The UK, for example, people getting arrested for saying things that are obviously true. And unfortunately, one of the truths that don't feel good but are in fact true is that men on average are better at leadership. And Dylan, why do you say that? Well, viewer, let me tell you. It is because men are better at removing their emotions from their decision making. They can make a decision, generally speaking, because it makes sense in terms of a systems perspective. It's like, this makes sense because it's true and logical. And it's true and logical, and you can make a decision that for something that doesn't individually feel good for you, but will benefit everyone, and therefore produce a better society for you to live in and directly benefit you. It's one of those things where you have to sacrifice your short-term pleasures and how you feel about something in the short term for the larger gain. Men are better leaders. When you have a society led by women, you have the society that we live in now. You live in a post-truth society, and that is not to say that only women lead, because that is not the case. It is the case that majority of the elites, the people who really control the strings of society, are men. Sure. But they are not representative of all men because they are clearly evil. Why are they clearly evil? Because they're clearly doing things that are in direct contradiction to what is actually best for you, which is to say that directly reduce your quality of life. One moment. Oh, this is stressful. You guys have no idea the level of stress I have to undergo to do all this stuff and to be continually pushing it back against all this stuff to the detriment of my own personal happiness in the short term, but for the benefit of everyone in the long term, because it's the right thing to do, because I refuse to live in a society that's post-truth. I refuse. You're gonna have to kill me. I will never stop speaking the truth, and if anyone has a problem with it, I don't care. Do something about it. I don't care. When you have a society where men are not in all of the in every strata of leadership, which is to say, when men are not controlling how things are conducted in the society, you produce a society that is completely and utterly vulnerable to evil. If you have a society where you can't say the truth, people are just going to massively manipulate the society. And we're going to be put in positions where our downfall is imminent, but not immediately seen to most, which is the case of where we are now in the Western world, more so in the UK and the US, but more so in the UK, secondarily Canada, thirdly US, and fourthly Australia, although those are debatable rankings. Well, Dylan, how do we combat this? We combat this by speaking the truth, and this is another piece of evidence why men are better suited for leadership positions, is because in the matriarchal society, or the mostly matriarchal society with the ruling elites being patriarchal, but evil patriarchs, not the just godly patriarchs, the Satanists control us. They can handle healthy masculinity. Godly men can handle the truth, and thus the truth is of importance within that society. But a society where it's so dominated by how something feels, almost all the time, the delivery matters more than the actual substance of the thing being communicated, which is to say, how the truth feels seems to be more important than the fact that it is the truth. How the fudge are we going to solve any of our problems if we can't speak the truth? Please. The Bible literally details countless examples of entire civilizations, cities that don't speak the truth and just collapse and fall victim to tyrants, dictators, and everyone becomes slaves for hundreds of years. This happens time and time and time again. It's like the core theme of the Bible is people being enslaved and the truth setting them free. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than that, but fundamentally, that seems to be what's happening. Like the USSR, for example, people were enslaved for 30 years to the communist regime, and what set it free? Well, one of the first dominoes to fall that set in motion the downfall of the USSR was the Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who spent, I can't remember how long, maybe a decade, in a forced labor camp. One person can bring down a tyranny by speaking the truth. It's mental how everything I talk about all links towards each other. It's the core tenets of what I speak about is truth. Truth and standing up for what you believe in, and leadership. A society led by women is a society that is scared to go against the grain and scared to hurt people's feelings and scared to say the truth because it might mean social rejection. And that's a society completely and utterly vulnerable to being enslaved. And if you don't think that this is possible, then you are a fool, because the history books are, within the books of history, there is a litany of examples of this exact thing happening. If you refuse to acknowledge this, then you are a fool, plain and simple. You need to do something about this. This is your fight. We cannot live in a post-truth society. Post-truth society will only produce tyranny and enslavement. Do you want to be a slave, and do you want to be subject to tyrants? Because at the moment, your behavior is telling me that you would like to be. But even though I know you're sitting there thinking, oh, no, I don't want to be, but look at your behavior. Let's be honest. Let's be honest, Fred. See this? This is a happy face. This is what it looks like to live in a truth society. The opposite of that is what it looks like to live in a post-truth society. If you just run that experiment for long enough, you wait and see what happens. Peace.